So I would like to welcome Emma Shabalok from Routers and Camps, just introduced.
Thank you, Wolf. It's a pleasure to be here today and to be able to introduce myself and our position in the 4IG group as well. So Routers and Cams is currently focusing on custom UAS development, from the very small all the way to the big orange one behind me, which is a target drone system, as István mentioned. We joined the 4IG group in 2021 when part of the company was acquired, and we do see a strategical position in this partnership or ownership. As we like to talk about, drones are just merely a platform. How I like to approach this idea is that our main focus is bringing the sensor to the battlefield. So drones are merely the mules who carry the important sensors that collect even more critical and more important data that can be later processed and handed over to or fed into the decision-making processes. Our job is to make these systems as resilient as possible and as robust as possible. But our expertise lie in the platforms themselves, and then leveraging all the heritage from 4IG. When István mentioned that their background and history is predominantly in IT and telco, leveraging all this IT technology is highly important for us. We are a small, we're an SME, so we can't really focus on every technological domain. But we do see the potential in this technology when we combine it with artificial intelligence, as the first panelist mentioned, and also increasing the autonomy of these systems. So this is probably about us. István mentioned we have decades of experience in drone technology. I would like to correct that. We have 1 decade of experience in this field. So it was the company was founded in 2014 by ex-military personnel. I'm only emphasizing this to kind of put it out there that we do speak the language, we do understand the needs, we're coming from the same culture. So we always try to develop systems that are actually fulfilling a purpose and are useful for this kind of application.
Emma, thank you very much for your broad introduction. I would come to my second guest in this round. Mihai Sziglady, former military and now working for DND Hungary, with a huge background of military experience, especially within the area of infantry, and now working for a company who's normally related to produce anti-tank weapons, also to enhancing the protection of military armored vehicle, and as we have seen with Andreas Dorn, stepping into the digital thing. So, Mihai, what's about DND's view on the drones and how you are looking into this new system capability on the battlefield?
Thank you for introducing me, and good morning, everyone. Definitely the DND Hungary, DND and the DND Hungary is not a drone provider, but let me share 2 examples. Last week a video was released from Ukraine. So Ukraine forces integrated an RPG-18 on a drone, and last year there was also a video when UGV, unmanned ground vehicle, were used to establish minefields. So that's the expert field of the DND, and so we are not drone producers, but we can provide payloads and explosive payloads and bring this into the game.
Yeah, thank you very much. My third guest, Stefan Löbel, is coming from Airbus Defense and Space and Airborne Solutions. They are really having a huge brand of experience in running UAVs, big drone systems, like it was up to the beginning of the Ukrainian-Russian war. Everybody, when we were talking about drones, There was a huge debate also in Europe. Do we need weaponized drones, or do we need only for the military drones to use it as reconnaissance systems? And now Airbus Defence and Space Airborne Solutions are operating together in cooperation with an Israeli company, EIE, the Heron TP and the Heron 1, which was used also by the military, but which is also used, for example, by Frontex into the Mediterranean Sea for border protection of Europe. So, Stefan, how are you looking into this?
Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. Thanks for this question. Look, I'm doing this now for 10 years with Airbus Airborne Solutions, so we are 100% subsidiary of Airbus Defence and Space. But we have a vast experience, more than 40 years also in the development of tactical UAS. So almost 15, 20 years ago, it was like, well, we creating something to prepare for the Cold War. KZO is a small tactical UAS, very resilient in terms of GPS independency and so on for target acquisition. Then it shifted. 20 years ago, it was more on out-of-area missions, peacekeeping, a global war on terror. And from 2010, we were operating, as Riley said, in a kind of turnkey operator solution. The Israeli make Heron 1 in Afghanistan side by side with a soldier. The smart solution, that term was, the Air Force just needed to provide operators, so payload operator and pilots, and we did the rest. So provision of the aircraft, provision of flight hours, the logistics, ILS, and beyond. And we could see out of this the involvement. Okay, Heron 1, light mail system, evolution towards Heron TP or Predator B, so to remain in the same size class, more endurance, even weaponizable and so on. But all these assets have something in common. They're designed for long endurance. They have a glider configuration. Actually, they're gliders with an engine. And it works as long as you are air superiority, air supremacy. But now, within the last decade, there was also a change in thoughts. We've seen the war, Azerbaijan, Armenia. We've seen Ukraine now. What happens if you're talking about contested environment, denied airspaces and so on? How much will mail systems survive there? And we see it now, it's not the end with the mail system. So we are in the development phase of an Eurodrone, which is even bigger. We're talking about 10-ton plus drone, mail configuration. Which still has a space or it's a reason. But we see it out now that the drone business will diverse into other systems that can operate in the night and contested airspaces and so on. And that's, we see it in a way, the future is not unmanned, but it will have a very important part of it.
Thank you very much, Stefan. I'm coming to my fourth guest, Nando Barani from Propatria Electronics. Not a producing drone, but Propatria is responsible in designing and manufacturing surveillance systems. And when we are talking about drones, it's not only that these things are flying. We also have, like it was mentioned by 4AG, we need counter systems, we need detection systems, and that's what also this panel would like to introduce, is the broad spectrum of drones in it all, and therefore Propatria, as one of the manufacturers of surveillance systems, is a key role here in Hungary, and how you are seeing the developments of drones. Nando.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and present Propatria's view on this drone situation, which is really urgent and important nowadays. So we are on the counterpart. We, in the past few years, identified that the drone situation is coming more and more important, and we just wanted to go ahead and started designing 3D radars as counter UAV surveillance solutions. And today we just managed to have two types of products which are able to detect and also track and identify, classify 3D targets, which means the radar can measure the drone's exact position, even its altitude. So while you have this information, you have the ability to use some kind of countermeasure. And from radar developer point of view, I'm an engineer, so I mainly can describe the technical part and through a radar glass the whole story. We think without the information again about the threats are coming, we are not able to defend ourselves, and this is our main idea, to provide the cost-effective and reliable surveillance systems into counter-UAV solutions. We don't provide the countermeasure part. We don't have machine gun turrets or electronic countermeasure equipments, but the half part of the system is provided by us. So,
thank you very much, Nandor. I think if we go into the history of all these drones we have, when Stefan was mentioning these big, huge drone systems, that was in remembrance of us all. And now with the war in Israel and also in the Ukraine, we saw a different approach of usage of military drones. And coming back to the bridging from the civilians to the military use of drones, a couple of years ago, drones were something like a toy, where the kids or the older kids were flying around and making pictures. And at first it was only a flying utility, then it had a camera and some other gadget, and it was really something like a toy where people were flying around with. And then we recognized also the security implications on this, and how the broad spectrum of drones was shifting. So my question is now to my four guests: the use of drones in a broad spectrum that influence our security of a state. What has changed so much that everyone now is talking about it? And I would start with Stefan.
Well, we've seen it that from the smaller drones, we call it like DJIs or something like this, as rightly said, is considered as to be a toy, but only within the last, let's say, 5-10 years, has been affordable to mass of people. So you can buy it, I can buy it, and so on. And as always, technology was here. Legislation was behind. There was no legislation. What's the maximum takeoff weight for these drones? Do I need insurance? Yes or no? What about the privacy issue here? And so social acceptance was like here. We're coming up now that we have legislation. Social acceptance is another story here. Let's focus on the security aspect. We've seen it. We've seen it today that many German military barracks see a lot of smaller drones flying above, where we see it as a kind of intelligence from some unfriendly other European countries. Let's call it this way, from the Far East. This is a fact. Do we have countermeasures here in place? Not really, and it comes even worse. I think it's more than 10 years ago. Please help me out with when Germany decided to retire all their anti-aircraft artillery, the Gepard tanks, which has been the only mean to counteract this kind of smaller, let's say, the tactical UAV that we have seen now in the Ukraine war, but also in the, as I mentioned, the Azerbaijan-Armenia war. This is something they decided now, we put it out from the depot and we reactivate, and there are also procurement programs. So we're counteracting. So I think it's rightly said, nothing drives innovation more than a conflict, and also the experience here.
Thank you. Emisha, how are you seeing it?
So I would like to mention a personal example. I was actually stationed for 5 years in Afghanistan as an air traffic controller, and we first encountered this phenomenon that Stefan was mentioned, that small drones started to do flyovers or low approaches over the base, but it wasn't deployed in masses like they do it in Ukraine. It was just a sporadical surveillance, sometimes attacks. That was, I think, the first time in around 2020, 2019, when the insurgents, they started literally duct taping some, grenades to small DJI Phantoms back then. But again, it wasn't as widespread as it nowadays. And as Stefan mentioned, I would just like to connect back to what he mentioned with the proliferation and the democratization of technology, alongside with the miniaturization, that these sensors, these embedded systems, these modules are becoming smaller and smaller. These smart technologies are more compact and can be transported more easily to the masses and then deployed onto the battlefield. Also, there's this imbalance between the offensive power of drones and their mitigation. So I don't think I have to tell you the cost of a off-the-shelf DJI unit opposed to a Patriot rocket. So that's why, again, like all these emerging counter UAV technologies are important to be able to react to these threats in a more cost-efficient way. Because otherwise, they might be, a Patriot rocket can be efficient, but it also can drain economically a country when they are trying to protect and stand up against these attacks. How I see it nowadays, that all of these drone assets are becoming smaller and smaller, and they are not only utilized in terms of data collection or intelligence, but also in precision strikes and in swarms. So it's incredibly hard to stand up and fight against these swarms of tens or hundreds of small drones approaching a country. They can use to suppress enemy fire as well, or to draw out and fire and expose artillery or air defense locations, their positions as well. So it's completely rewriting the doctrines of modern warfare, and everything is evolving at an incredible pace, and it's really hard to adapt. With the decrease in their costs also allowed these technologies to be accessible not just by state actors, but these terrorist groups or insurgent powers as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what the future holds. But I see that these three major focus areas are going to be ISR, precision strikes, and so swarm technology.
Thank you, Mesha. Nandor.
As you already heard, the technology hasn't need to be the newest one to produce drones with limited capacities, and these became really cheap, so everybody has it. And in Pro Patria, we say that in the defense technology, there is always one technology which is ahead of its counterpart. Right now, the drones are ahead of the countermeasure and surveillance system. So somehow we just have to take over this, and this is a good market opportunity for radar developers such like Pro Patria, but we are still not yet there to bring really cost-effective and successful surveillance system against drone swarms. So it's a huge task, and still investigated how to do it easily.
Thank you very much, Nandor. Miha, what are you thinking are these new changes if you look at on the D&D perspective and also with a military view?
Going back to your basic question, that what has changed and why everybody is speaking about the drones, I would like to raise one, but it's well known from everybody. It's social media. So drone footages and record of electro-optic homing devices are widely available on the internet, and that's the reason why everybody's speaking about it. One additional point from a military perspective. In the last 4 years, there were three wars. 2 is still ongoing, and everybody can and could see that drones and loitering munitions changed the battlefield. And of course, that happened in the beginning of the Ukrainian war, but here comes my point. The Ukrainians were running out of the traditional ammunition, artillery shells, and tank ammunition and other traditional ammunitions. So, and they started to use the commercially available drones and attach the RPG warheads and all available warheads on these cheap drones. And they bring them into the game, and that caused again a challenge on the Russian side, and that's what we have been seeing on the internet nowadays.
Thank you very much, Mia. All these changes have created, yeah, we can say, a whole new market, because as I mentioned before, from toys to military weapons. So that started also a new market within the defense industry, and we can recognize it in the European Commission Defense Industry Strategy, that there is an extra topic related on enhancing the capability of production of drones, which also is enhancing all surrounded systems, techniques we need to handle these new systems. What opportunities you see, but also risk from a perspective of a defense industry you should wish to have these cooperation also with the military, also with the civilian industry? Emische.
It's a very interesting question, and thank you for that. From a standpoint of 4IG as a tech group, we also face these rapid innovational cycles. So we have established that it's a fastly changing, evolving environment and technological field. It's really hard to keep up with the life cycles of these products. They are becoming obsolete at an increasing rate, and also running parallel the actual requirements of the battlefield. So their application is changing, the technology is changing, with the AI and autonomy entering the picture. We have to make sure that our R&D processes are quick and efficient. And in order to do so, we would need to collaborate with small either research institutes or small SMEs that can adapt to requirements in a more agile way to integrate all this know-how into the company. From our standpoint, as 4IG SND, I would like to emphasize that I think we're sitting on a very unique synergy field where we have all these technological domains that István mentioned in his previous keynote speech, like drone technology and anti-drone technology going hand in hand. We would need to leverage all the know-how created in other technological domains that can actually enhance the other ones in another segment, in another portfolio company. So I think it's important to figure out and then leverage these strategic partnerships to work together on an EU and NATO framework to define development goals, and for us to, as companies and business entities, to deliver these products as soon as possible, so we can bring these assets out to the battlefield as soon as we can. Otherwise, if we spend years on end on developing a small drone system, we're gonna miss the mark. With Stefan mentioned the bigger size, the bigger asset class mail systems are more. I think they're more time resilient in terms than a small FPV or a small loitering munition drone. So time is of an essence, but we have to do it correctly. So that's pretty much what I see as an issue that we have to face to figure out how we can have fast, agile, and accurate R&D processes.
Yeah, you're right. Time is driving technology all the time. Stefan, how are you looking in it?
Well, I see it in a way, the smaller your company, the more innovative, agile and faster you are, but the more you depend also on external fundings. So I'm come from the other way, from Airbus. We are maybe not the fastest, most innovative, but maybe have the financial background to pre-finance or develop larger systems like an Eurodrone, for instance. That's the difference. So as you rightly said, the development cycles for such mail systems or also remote carriers or something, it's much more longer. We're talking about 10 years plus. Of course, you do not bring the latest technology inside, but you need to make sure that if there's new technologies emerging, and I don't know how often we mention here now AI, that's not just a buzzword, but it's necessary technology. We somehow need to act more as an integrator, and we need to cooperate more intensive with smaller companies, startups, also with governmental fundings or so on to integrate those technologies. We've seen it in the previous panel. It's a drone is actually at the time being nothing more than the sensor in the sky. Whether it be optical, whether it be radar or SIGINT or so on, it's sensor in the sky. And it creates a lot of data first. And we've seen it from data to information. It's the first step. From information to knowledge. That's the latest step. I think, if I recall it right, all the optical information taken from US drones during Afghanistan and Iraq, it's still not analyzed and would take another 20 years to analyze all these pictures. So, for instance, coming back, AI is something where it will also need to be incorporated here. And to be clear, it will not be done by an aircraft manufacturer like Airbus. It will be done by any other more agile, let's call it this way, company here.
Thank you. Nandor. And after Nandor, please directly Miji.
Thank you. So the time is also always crucial, and as a small company, we only can survive if we are really flexible and we can customize our products for the customer's needs as soon as possible. So this is our, I think, our best attribute or how to express myself, and also how to relate this with the governments and new opportunities and new R&D procedures. So as a small company, let's say we are a Hungarian homegrown company, for a government it's always good to have cooperation with multinational companies, but it's also good to rely on their own smaller factories and smaller companies. So combining these two, we are in a good position, I think, because there are coming legislations against, not against, coming legislation to purchase new counter UAV systems in case of critical infrastructure protection. So many of public and governmental companies and agencies will be necessarily obligated to buy counter UAV solutions. So from this point of view, I think our fast reaction time and then good relations with the Hungarian MOD will be profitable.
Let me add one point to Stefan. The drones are not only sensors, they are effectors and carriers of the effectors. And opportunities and risk from my purely military viewpoint. It's and here I have to say another buzzword, which is a dual-use technologies. So the opportunity from military perspective, the dual-use technologies will influence the military thinkers, and they will integrate those technologies into the military concepts. What I mean here, because it was just a nice sentence. The example here is the logistics and delivery commercial vendors like Amazon or UPS. I was preparing for this panel talk, so I watched many YouTube videos, and I found a BBC interview, which is not a long one. It's 3 minutes, I guess. And it was amazing for me that what the Amazon reached in California. They already introduced their drone delivery post service, which can bring anything, not anything, but of course it's limited to the certain spots, to the certain customer. And yeah, from D&D perspective and effector perspective, a drone and a system which can deliver a normal box to somewhere, it can deliver and disperse explosives as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. BSD is also promoting, when you see on the right hand, the EDDC, the European Defence Drone Conference, which will be held next year in June. This is to coordinate within the area of defense, the development of drones and also the protection of drones, because it's not only that these new systems are flying, we also need it, and we've heard it in the security area. We have to protect our airports, we have to protect our critical infrastructure, and our developments has to come in this area. And we know that these new capability and changing capability with us, and Michal just mentioned also the developments in the civil area with projects of Amazon. What do you expect for coordinating something like this? I've just spoken a couple of weeks ago with the head leading general for the planning of these new capability within the German armed forces, and he was telling me that a lot of battalion commanders buying their own Chinese mini drones and setting up their own laboratories in their battalions. So there is at the moment no real coordination, especially because it's infecting so many areas of our security. It's within the civil area protection, and also in the, as I mentioned, critical infrastructure. What you are expecting something like this also from a coordination aspect, for example, of the European Commission, how to develop and to support you in your area of your business?
It's a very complex question.
That's good.
But I'm gonna try to answer it from our perspective. So it is well known that NATO and EU has been putting a high emphasis on interoperability. It's really hard to have off-the-shelf products and just magically overnight make them interoperable with every kind of defense system, you know, present in the EU or in NATO forces. And also they pose a threat as well. So with not, you know, like being able to look all the way down to code level when we're buying an off-the-shelf, let's say DJI or other kind of product, we sort of expose ourselves for any kind of potential cyber crime or cyber, threats. So that has to be something that we take into consideration. We have seen it in Ukraine how if depending on geopolitical situations, how certain abilities can be switched off in one side or in another, and that's not something that we can expose ourselves to, or we shouldn't. I know that especially in the case of the Hungarian military, recent army modernization programs and efforts have been predominantly focused on large classical traditional assets like main battle tanks, air defense, missile units, and there hasn't been a collaborative modernization regarding drones. So, and our military has been always cost sensitive, and it for them at this point it doesn't make sense to purchase a, let's say, more expensive custom systems than buy a drone or buy a capability, not even just a drone, because these assets, these little toys, they can provide you with significant capabilities to be able to have an eye in the sky, or to be able to make a precision strike for just a mere couple of hundred or thousands of dollars. But again, these are not integratable into an existing security system or defense system. That's something that should be a joint and collaborative effort. And the users, so the militaries, have to define their strategic goals for us companies to be able to react to those goals and develop systems that are actually fulfilling a purpose and will be valuable assets in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking meanwhile, and it's nice to have ISR drones on every level. Company commanders, battalion commanders can use them not only to find the enemy, but also for control their own troops. It's nice. But the training environment here in Europe is not the same as it is in Israel, sorry to mention in this context. What I mean, the Israeli reservists who serve in the force and serve during the Gaza war belongs to the defense industry. So the development cycle for them, it's easy, and they can bring the real experience into the development immediately. Here in Europe, and especially here in Hungary, it's not the way how it works. So first of all, for the military user, the government need to provide a proper training area. And that training area, it's not a piece of field, and it's not a piece of area. It need to be good to employ, for example, electronic warfare devices and assets, because it's one thing to fly in the air without any jamming, but it's another question if there is countermeasures against it. So back to the question, I always emphasize that the training environment need to be as real as possible, and the nation and the government and all players have to work for it to create it as realistic as it's possible.
Stefan, Airbus has, I think, within this constellation of our panelists here, the longest experience in this area. How you are seeing it, also with your company view?
Well, this can only be a very subjective view. Of course, it's a tricky question, and I think for a long time now it's always said, we want to have national competence, or at least European competence in aircraft building and technology, so not dependent from maybe in part of, especially many drones from the US or Israeli with other pacemakers here, incumbents for drone technology. Of course, then you have long innovation cycles. Now it felt like the world changed within an instant. And in the military planning cycle, it was like now, oh, we need other capabilities. We need something that is market available. Of course, if you have something market available as a European company, you're in good position. Otherwise, you lose also your own innovation capability. For instance, procurement F-35. Definitely needed, but doesn't help particular Airbus in the further development of an Eurofighter. That means loss of competencies in the development of aircraft, also in terms of future combat aircraft systems, for instance. If you ask me how to solve, I don't have an answer. What I would wish is if they have the military planning cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act, not only doing national, but also doing on a European level, to give all the companies a view what's going on and have the proper funding, or at least to prepare what's been needed for the future, if we can do so. So something reality is faster than your planning.
May I just add one thing?
Yes, of course.
If I'm not mistaken, there is an agency, European Defense Agency, that maybe annually they bring out a capability development plan, and then that kind of it's a nice summary for all of the businesses in the European ecosystem so they set out achievable goals or directions for us to move on to and start our developments in aligned with these directions. So just a little note.
Thank you, Measure, for the amendment. Nando, how you see it with Pro Patria? What you expecting? Where's your, you can say, future wishes in this area?
Talking about the Hungarian defense R&D approaches, I think right now we are on a good track because our MOD is buying brand new stuff from Western countries, which is good because we will know how to use them and which is the high-end technology achievable right now. But we also have an approach to research and develop these for our own. And these approaches are really good, in my opinion. So we have a collaboration with SMEs like ourselves to combine different types of solutions. We already combined our radar with surveillance drones. So we have such a successful project like this. And we are continuing to work together with other companies and integrating their solutions. It's regardless it's a surveillance sensor or a automated gun turret or something like that. But if we combine and we will find these synergies, the Hungarian army can bring its brand new high-end technology solutions, but only with combined and joint forces and workforce.
Thank you very much. I would like to close this panel with a short summary on this. Drones are changing our life within the next 10, 20, 30 years. And I think in the whole area, it's a civil life, it's a military one. It will contradict the security of a state. So it is an upcoming system, upcoming capability, positive as negative, and we have to handle it. And therefore, there's a big responsibility of the governments. There's a big responsibility also, as I mentioned, of the European Commission or other organizations like NATO to set up their own requirements to develop this capability. But it's also a good possibility and a new market for the defense industry. And we are here within the German Chamber of Commerce. So for all business trading for the next 20 to 30 years. And we will see what good and what worse things it will bring, what risk we will have. but I think it is changing in the whole world, and we have seen it here within this last 50 minutes, what possibilities there are, and I think we always have to have the good view for it and go with drones and with this new capability into the future. And I would like to give back to our moderator to finalize our CEO breakfast now. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.